start the day's other headlines with President Trump moving up the timeline for Russia to stop its war in Ukraine. Speaking to reporters in Scotland, Trump said today he's giving President Vladimir Putin 10 to 12 more days to reach a deal to end the fighting. Otherwise, Russia could face new sanctions and secondary tariffs targeting its trading partners. That shortens a 50-day deadline Trump gave Moscow 2 weeks ago. In a video address today, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky praised Trump's firmness with Putin.
It is true. It's Russia that's doing everything to derail peace efforts and prolong this war. Ukraine is ready to work productively with the U.S., to work with President Trump to end this war with dignity and secure lasting peace.
Meanwhile, in Russia, former President Dmitry Medvedev said online that Trump is playing, quote, a game of ultimatums that could draw the U.S. into war. A federal judge blocked a Trump administration effort to defund Planned Parenthood today, ruling that all clinics must continue to receive Medicaid reimbursements. A provision in the president's recently passed One Big Beautiful Bill banned Medicaid payments to providers that perform abortions and make more than $800,000 in a given year. The judge ruled that could amount to what's called legislative punishment, which is unconstitutional since Planned Parenthood is one of the only providers that meets that threshold. In Nevada, a suspect is in custody after at least 2 people were killed outside a casino in Reno. Officials say the gunman opened fire in the valet area of the Grand Sierra Resort this morning. At least 3 other people were injured. They were taken to a nearby hospital, as was the suspected shooter. Their conditions have not been made public. Reno officials say investigation is underway and that there's no ongoing threat to the public. Federal aviation authorities are investigating an incident this weekend in which passengers had to evacuate a burning plane at Denver International Airport. People on board the American Airlines flight bound for Miami slid down the plane's emergency chute as smoke poured from the jet. Authorities say a fire started in the aircraft's brake system just before takeoff. 5 people were checked by medics on site, and 1 was taken to a hospital with a minor injury. There were 173 passengers and 6 crew members on board the Boeing 737 MAX 8 when the fire broke out. Scorching summer temperatures are sweltering the eastern half of the United States. Well over 200 million Americans are under heat alerts and warnings from the Dakotas all the way to Florida and up the East Coast.
Hotter than normal, just super muggy. Maybe it's just me getting older, but it is hot.
It's always hot for places like the southeastern U.S., but meteorologists warn that this week's temperatures are dangerous even by summer standards. Combined with humidity, heat indices could hit 120 degrees in places like Mississippi and Louisiana. The National Weather Service expects the heat wave to peak around midweek before cooler air sweeps through by the weekend. In southern Europe and the Balkans, searing heat, dry conditions, and strong winds are fueling deadly fires and prompting evacuations in places like Greece, Bulgaria, and Turkey. Wildfires there have threatened Turkey's 4th largest city of Bursa, forcing more than 3,000 people to flee. The Forestry Ministry says 3 firefighters were killed this weekend. All told, at least 17 rescue workers and volunteers have now died battling the blazes since late June. Thailand and Cambodia have agreed to an immediate and unconditional ceasefire after 5 days of fighting.
This is a vital first step towards de-escalation and the restoration of peace.
Leaders from the 2 countries shook hands at the conclusion of talks hosted by Malaysia's Prime Minister. The latest violence between the 2 neighbors killed at least 35 and displaced more than 260,000 people. Both countries blamed the other for starting the clashes, which began after a landmine explosion last week that wounded 5 Thai soldiers. The ceasefire went into effect at midnight local time. Military commanders are set to meet tomorrow for talks aimed at further easing tensions. On Wall Street today, a quiet start to the trading week. The Dow Jones Industrial Average slipped about 60 points on the day. The Nasdaq added 70 points, or 1/3%. The S&P 500 ended virtually unchanged. And musical satirist and mathematician Tom Lehrer has died.
All the world seems in tune on a spring afternoon when we're poisoning pigeons in the park.
Lehrer made a name for himself in the 1950s and 60s with songs like Poisoning Pigeons in the Park, which blended joyful music with more sardonic subject matter. His targets for satire included marriage, politics, racism, and the Catholic Church, among others. But his lyrics were so clever and his musical tone so light that few seemed to mind. Lehrer was a math prodigy who graduated from Harvard at the age of 18. He eventually left music to return to teaching at Harvard and elsewhere. A longtime friend said Lehrer died at his home in Massachusetts this weekend. Tom Lehrer was 97 years old. And England's women's soccer team returned home to a hero's welcome today following its thrilling European Championship win. The Lionesses posed with the trophy on the tarmac after touching down on home soil before being whisked off to the Prime Minister's residence. They'll enjoy an open-top bus parade through central London tomorrow. On Sunday, the team successfully defended its title by beating world champion Spain in a nail-biter in Basel, Switzerland. Striker Chloe Kelly powered the game winner past the keeper, giving England a 3-1 win on penalty kicks. Still to come on the NewsHour, Health Secretary Kennedy's plan to gut a preventative services task force. Tamara Keith and Jasmine Wright break down the latest political headlines. And we examine the broader implications of a conservative project to combat anti-Semitism in the U.S.
This is the PBS NewsHour from the David M. Rubenstein Studio at WETA in Washington, and in the West from the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism at Arizona State University.